And then you guys have the big nightcap over on WCCP from 5 until way into the evening, talking a little college football as we get closer. But glad to have you on. Always good to catch up with you.
Yeah, Lawton, thank you so much for having me on. I'm happy that Quack was my opening act this week. Really appreciate that. But yeah, it's going to be a great day. It's a fun day or fun night we're going to have it over in Greenville at the college football kickoff show. And it's just great to be able to gather and do it. And, it really means football season is right around the corner. And I just can't wait. I feel like, I don't know why, but I feel like this off season has been longer in some way. At least it's felt that way. And maybe it's because Clemson is starting with such a big opponent and such a big game, but I am ready for September 4th.
Yeah, it's been so interesting because this season with the COVID-19 stuff that's going on right now, and I don't know about you and Qualt, but a lot of my listeners don't want to hear about COVID-19. But, last year, all during this time, it was like, yay, we might actually get to play. There's excitement. And now you felt like all summer you're going to get to play. And then there's this sort of doom and gloom per se in some respects. Like you see the changes at LSU with their policy going into the stadium with having to be vaccinated or have a negative PCR test. I mean, lots of things that I think fans had hoped 2 months ago were behind them are sort of right there in front. I mean, where's your concern level as somebody that follows college football the way you do on what COVID-19 will be for fans, maybe more so than players in 2021?
It's a good point, Lon. And, I definitely didn't think we'd be talking about COVID, or at least thinking about COVID as much as we are a couple months ago than we are right now heading into September. But look, if we can have a college football season and complete a college football season last year, then we can do anything, right? I mean, that gives me hope in society again. So I think that 2021 is going to end up being fine, especially when you compare it with 2020. It's probably going to feel a lot better and go on a lot smoother. And we're already going to have our non-conference games. And I think it's going to feel more normal. I really hope, knock on wood, that 2022 will be pretty darn normal and much more normal than this year. But when compared with 2020, I think it's going to feel pretty normal and pretty regular. And just the fact that we're getting to play some of these non-con games and we're getting to go to games. I'm going to the game in Charlotte. I'll happily put my mask on and wear it in the concourse and in the restrooms and all that, which is, at least as of now, what the rules are in Charlotte. And I'm vaccinated. I'll take it off when I'm in the stadium. And I'm just willing to do that. I'm just so excited to have football, so glad to have this amazing tradition back, that I'm really willing to do whatever it takes as a fan, as a consumer, and even as a media member.
Listen, I'm with you 100%. I'm just excited about it. And really, anytime you get a chance to see Clemson and Georgia hook up. Look, I'm an older guy. I'm 44. I remember Clemson and Georgia in the 80s. I know what that rivalry was like. But you being there in Clemson, you understand it as well. And you've certainly seen your fair share of these matchups. But never a top 5 matchup between these two teams to open up a season. How special is that in your eyes, just from the standpoint of what both of these programs have not only become now, but really what they've built themselves up to on the national stage?
It's incredibly special. I can't think of the last time that Clemson opened with this kind of game. I mean, really, the last time was 13. I'm trying to think if 14 was the opener. I believe 14 was the opener as well. And those are both against Georgia. So it's been a long time. And, this is a storied rivalry. Our listeners in the upstate are so excited. We've got Georgia fans calling in and talking trash, and Clemson fans as well. We've been talking about this game virtually every day since like February, most likely, I would say. So just the fact that you're opening was not only a big game for both programs, but the biggest game in the country. I think that brings a different level of excitement. Everybody's eyes are going to be on you. You're not opening with Wake Forest like last year. You're not opening with a Kent State. You're not even opening with, an Auburn, who's not ranked, but still a historical program. You're opening with a top 5 matchup, and you are the talk of the country. And that's really exciting for both programs.
Kelly Gramlich here joining us on the program. Follow her on Twitter at Kelly Gramlich. And, of course, she does a spectacular job each and every day having to carry William Qualkenbush for 3 hours up there on 105.5 The Roar. And you can tell him, by the way, I got that relationship with Qual. You could tell him I said so, Kelly, that you have to do all the heavy lifting up there. But Looking at this Clemson program yesterday on my show, one of our listeners asked me, they said, where's your biggest concern? I leaned in on the offensive line because I think it's a twofold issue. First off, you've got to protect DJ Uiagalelei. Second off, last year, they didn't get much run push. And, minus Travis Etienne now, what does the running game look like if they're not opening up holes? But maybe it's completely different for you. What is your biggest concern for Clemson as they enter this game against Georgia next weekend?
Lawton, I don't want to be boring. I don't want to agree with you on everything, but I do think the offensive line is my biggest concern, and really just the run game in general, which of course we know involves the offensive line, because last year with Travis Etienne, who is arguably the greatest running back in the history of the Atlantic Coast Conference, Etienne wasn't even very effective running the ball last year. And that wasn't really on Etienne. That was on the offensive line in many respects. And of course, that's when Clemson pivoted a little bit and used Etienne more in the passing game, and he still had a great year. So if you can't create enough of a run push to let Etienne run the ball, then what does that mean for Lynn J. Dixon, for Kobe Pace, for the young freshman Will Shipley? That's my biggest concern. I think Clemson needs to be Clemson and not try to be stubborn and try to establish the run at all costs against Georgia. Use your speed, use your creativity, use your weapons on the outside, use DJ's legs and try to make things work that way. But still, you're having to work around the offensive line in many respects. And I think the biggest fear, if we want to talk nightmare scenario here, which I don't know if we want to, but here we go, is if there is a costly mistake at a big point in the game, especially with the center quarterback exchange, which is what we've heard so much about. I'm excited that Bockhorst at least looks like he's going to fill that role because he has more experience. He has more confidence mentally and physically. But a small mistake like that, or a small mistake just in the running game, that cost you at Notre Dame with the ETN fumble. We've seen it happen. So I'm with you. I think the O-line is the biggest concern.
Again, Kelly Gramlich here with us on the show that shakes the Southland. I'll tell you what, Kelly, let us put you on hold. I know we want to slice it and dice it with you here for another few minutes. So let's put her on hold. We'll get back after it. Kelly Gramlich, again, go follow her on Twitter. It's easy, at Kelly Gramlich. All right, we'll come right back with more of the show that shakes the Southland.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. This spring, you can share your own observations